Hey folks, it is finally here, the new Pixel Watch by Google. It's been rumored for years, but they've launched it today. And I'm gonna give you 13 brand new things to know about it. A full in-depth review will come a little bit later on, so definitely hit the subscribe button for that. So the very first item is simply the price. It is $349 or $399 for the cellular, the LTE model. There's only one size of the Pixel Watch. It's about a 41 millimeter watch, or 40.8 millimeters to be very precise. On the right-hand side, there's a digital crown, and then just above that, there's a secondary button. That secondary button gets you the most recently accessed apps, while the digital crown allows you to scroll through the menus kind of up and down. You can, of course, also use that touchscreen that's in the front there, of course, to access any apps. You can swipe down from the top to access settings, and then swipe up to get into your other apps. Now, while there's only one size, it'll probably feel like a lot more watches because there are different band flavors, if you will, different band types, including leather ones and metal ones and active sport ones. And then within that, there's all the different colors of the bands. So you're talking like dozens of different band varieties you can choose from. Do note the metal bands, though, will not be available until next year, but everything else is available at launch.
So it has this nifty little button, and you just press this, and it'll slide right over. And then to put it back on, snaps right back in place.
Now, from a display standpoint, the AMOLED display is an always-on display. It's going to claim about 24 hours of battery life. And I'll put the charging times on the bottom down there, as well as the GPS time also listed down below there. I'm still trying to get the clarification on exactly what that is. Now, as to be expected with the watch from Google, it's running Wear OS. Wear OS being the wearable platform that Google's had for many, many years. That's the same version that you would see on the Samsung Galaxy Watch 4 and 5, for example. And here at its core, it's basically the same as well. Now, note that with Wear OS 3, there is no more iPhone compatibility. You will have to have some sort of Android device with the Pixel Watch. That's something that Google says they made because they didn't see the integration primarily on the messaging side and the number sharing side, the phone number sharing side, if you're on the LTE edition, is being all that great on iPhone due to some of the limitations in place by Apple. That's because Apple doesn't allow third-party hardware devices to send text messages on behalf of a watch, so that also impacts companies like Garmin and Suunto and everyone else out there. Now, if you're finding this video interesting and useful, now's a great time to whack that like button at the bottom there. It really does help out this video and the channel quite a bit. Now, as you'd expect from any watch release this year or anytime recently for that matter, it does have built-in GPS, so it'll track your runs and your workouts and anything you're doing outside for that matter using the GPS inside of this. And that can be used within both the Fitbit app, or basically the Fitbit Exercise app, as well as third-party apps like Strava and Adidas, because that's part of that entire Wear OS platform. And then in addition to that GPS, there's also heart rate. This is actually a different optical heart rate sensor on this than you would find on the Fitbit Sense, Sense 2 that I have right here. And in fact, both Google and Fitbit together are calling this their most accurate heart rate sensor suite, and that's both the hardware as well as the software. They talked a lot about machine learning they're doing. That's real-time machine learning that's done while you're working out or while you're doing whatever you're doing, so that it's actually processing that then versus post-processing later on that some companies do. Still, that's something I'm looking forward to testing in depth as part of my full in-depth review. And back on the GPS, this is not a multi-band GPS watch, but I wouldn't really expect that for this particular price point. I would expect next year, though, in the next version of this, that would probably definitely be multi-band for this price point. Now, quickie, the watch is waterproof to 50 meters and it also has a Gorilla Glass display on it, which should give it some pretty good durability for any sort of sporting activity. And before we talk about the sports activities, because of the Wear OS side, you got the full Wear OS apps kind of suite, if you will. So there's Google Wallet on here, there's Google Maps, even turn-by-turn directions on this within Google Maps. Not so much like from a routing standpoint, like if you were to make a route for a trail, but more within the city to be able to navigate from point A to point B. You've also got Google Home integration, so the ability to adjust thermostats and whatever else you want within the Google Home ecosystem. And then, of course, Google Assistant, which you can access by long pressing the upper right-hand button. That cracks that open. You can talk to it just as you would expect from Google Assistant for any number of years. Now, of course, because it's running Wear OS, you've got access to the full Wear OS App Store. And we've seen that really kind of blossom a bit over the last year since Samsung jumped on board Wear OS. And I think we're going to see that kind of grow even more exponentially over the next year now that Google's on board as well. And of course, there is the big name apps on there, especially like in the fitness world, like Strava and others. But I think having Google making their own watches will help that kind of move a little faster. And of course, the big ticket item on this watch is the native integration of the Fitbit product kind of suite, if you will. And it's no surprise that this watch was introduced on stage by Fitbit's founder and former CEO, James Park. And as such, you see Fitbit throughout the watch. On the default watch face devices, for example, you've got all your Fitbit-driven stats. It's built in, so you basically sign into this watch with your Fitbit account, and you're going to see pretty much the exact same layout that you would see on the Fitbit Sense, particularly the Sense 2 series. Kind of a lot of those stylistic elements are very, very similar. So you see steps, you see heart rate, you see your active zone minutes. If you have Fitbit Premium, you've got access to all of those suite of data, like, for example, the daily readiness pieces and all the historical bits. But to be clear, you don't need Fitbit Premium. You can use this watch without that, and you'll get all the data you would expect from a core Fitbit product. In fact, one of those pieces of data is the ECG functionality, as well as AFib alerts. That's something that's built on here today. And then coming down the road in 2023 is fall detection. So if you do fall and can't respond or aren't responding to your watch, that will go ahead and notify first responders automatically. Now, it's worthwhile noting this watch does come with 6 months of Fitbit Premium. So that's their premium subscription service. Offers a bunch of exercises, workouts, and more access to your data, more data metrics, etc. Again, that free trial is built into this. After that, it'll cost you money. It also comes with 3 months of YouTube Music built into this as well. And again, after that, it costs you money also. Finally, in terms of when you can get this, you can pre-order today, and they'll start shipping on October 13th. And then, of course, stay tuned for my full in-depth review down the road where I'll test all these things and see how well it actually works in real life. I'm really keen to see side by side. I've been wearing the Fitbit Sense 2 for the last little while. Is this a better watch for the money than the Fitbit Sense 2? Things like accuracy, usability, etc. We're going to find out. With that, thanks for watching. Consider whacking that like button there, or subscribing, or even joining the channel. Become a member to access to all sorts of good behind the scenes stuff. Have a good one.